In this video, I will share how, in my view, Andrew Holness's house led to the downfall of the People's National Party and totally broke their political dominance, a fall the party is still trying to recover from a decade later. I will explain how this house brought Holness to Jamaica House for a second, third, and fourth time. This is the story of the house that shaped Jamaica House and Gordon House.
Reach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
When Andrew Holness became the country's youngest ever Prime Minister in September of 2011, as a consequence of Bruce Golding resigning due to the fallout from the Manat Phelps and Phillips scandal, he could never in his wildest imagination have anticipated that he would become such a dominant figure in a country that at the time was still firmly in the grips of PNP dominance, whose 18.5 years of governance was only marginally broken in 2007 by a 32-28 election victory by Bruce Golding over first-time party leader Portia Simpson Miller. Holness, who had pulled a record crowd at the Jamaica Labour Party National Conference that year, would soon learn that, as the saying goes, Jamaica PNP country, when Simpson Miller destroyed him in the December 29, 2011 general election, which saw the PNP securing a 42-21 seat landslide victory. That defeat, coupled with questions about his leadership style, resulted in Holness being challenged in 2013 by Audley Shaw, whom he defeated by 692 votes. This, like any other leadership challenge, fractured the Jamaica Labour Party and further weakened its standings in the eyes of the electorate just 3 years ahead of the next general election, which was constitutionally due in December of 2016. Holness also had internal party issues grappling with, as he faced pressure to resign after a court ruling in 2015, in which the Constitution Court declared unanimously that pre-signed, undated letters he used to oust Arthur Williams and Dr. Christopher Tufton from the Senate in 2013 were inconsistent with the Constitution, contrary to public policy, unlawful, and accordingly null and void. On the heels of that ruling, Delroy Chuck wrote a letter to the leader of opposition business Derek Smith saying, "I have read the judgments in the above-mentioned case and consider the matter to be of urgent national importance. In the Westminster system of government, any constitutional office holder, be it Prime Minister, Leader of the Opposition, Speaker of the House, Chief Justice or others, who the court rules or declares to act unlawfully and unconstitutionally, would be obliged in all good conscience and honor to tender his or her resignation, unless there are good and compelling reasons not to do so. I ask that you call an urgent meeting of all opposition MPs to consider the matter." It should be noted that Chuck was absent from the meeting. Holness, who had appointed Rural Reid and Nigel Clark to fill the two vacancies, later expressed regret at the situation, saying it was never his intention to act unconstitutionally. Despite this, Holness was able to hold the party sufficiently together to mount a challenge in the pending election slated for the following year. An election that would not only change his own political fortunes, but also that of the once dominant People's National Party. 2015 was a mixture of blessings and curses for the then opposition leader, who, having held on to the leadership of the party after the court ruling, was faced with issues closer to home, as a house that he and his wife were building in Beverly Hills started to become a talking point for the PNP. This house would ultimately shape the rise of Holness as a political giant, while simultaneously orchestrating the demise of the People's National Party. Not only did the house become a talking point for the PNP, it became the central campaign topic for members of the government, with then Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips being the most vocal, demanding that Holness explain how he was financing the construction of his house. This, incidentally, is a sword that Phillips himself would later fall on. Holness, for his part, provided a breakdown which was published in the Gleaner on Monday, February 15, 2016. However, this explanation did not find favor with the PNP, especially with Delano Franklin, the PNP's campaign manager, describing it as insufficient and inaccurate. The PNP was so displeased that they said the party would not be drawn into any debate on national issues until Holness and the party came clean on a range of subjects. So firm were they in their beliefs, they wrote to the Jamaica Debates Commission, maintaining that they would not participate in the proposed debates unless and until Holness responded to all the integrity and other concerns they had raised. The PNP's 6 concerns were: 1. Holness's comment that the Sam Sharp Square shooting at a JLP rally was an act of terror. 2. Holness's nomination day comment allegedly defamed the Prime Minister. 3. Holness's meeting with the Jamaican convicted in Qatar. 4. The financing of the construction of Holness's house in Beverly Hills, St. Andrew. 5. The Senate letter saga. And 6. Robert Montague's assertion of oil imports linked to ISIS. The PNP response came days after the Debates Commission asked that they reconsider their decision to stay away from the debates. The then PNP General Secretary Paul Burke said in a letter to the Debates Commission, "It is our view that any person who offers him or herself for leadership must address legitimate questions about his or her integrity before an election and certainly before being accorded the privilege of participating in a national debate organized by you." He also said that the PNP's campaign program includes events that will accomplish the national objective to communicate the policies and programs of the political party. The commissioner described as regrettable and unfortunate the PNP's decision to stay away from the debate. It says notwithstanding all the hiccups in the negotiating process, issues raised by the PNP regarding the format for the leaders' debate were resolved. And so it was very disappointing that the issues unrelated to the debate format had subsequently been introduced. On Wednesday, February 17, 2016, the People's National Party further released a letter titled "No Debates Whatsoever." That letter reads as follows: "Dear Mr. DaCosta, greetings and the best wishes. After taking a number of factors into account and having given JLP leader Mr. Andrew Holness more than adequate time and opportunity to address the issues placed before him as conditions for the People's National Party's involvement in the national debates, the People's National Party has no other option but to stand by its original position. This position has already been communicated to you and the wider public. Furthermore, based on the attitude of Mr. Holness and the fact that we find his answers to the integrity issues lacking, unsatisfactory and not credible, which is one matter. But equally important is his obstinate refusal to do the right thing and apologize to the President of the People's National Party, and for his retraction and apology for his irresponsible and potentially dangerous statement at Sam Sharp Square on Sunday the 7th of February, leaves us with no other option but to decline. We will not compromise on our principles. We, therefore, will not be able to participate in the debates at any level whatsoever. Yours respectfully, Paul Burke, General Secretary." In response to that letter, the PNP faced widespread criticism on social media over its decision to stay away from the political debates. This fatal decision had now set things in motion, which over the next few years destroyed the PNP's chances of defeating Holness at the polls in 3 subsequent general elections. The wheels started falling off in the aftermath of the 2016 election, which, against all odds and against all poll predictions, the JLP won by the narrowest margin in our electoral history, securing a 32 to 31 seat victory. Due to a combination of arrogance, failure to recognize the power and influence of social media, an absent leader, and possibly the most bizarre election campaign the country has ever seen, the People's National Party was now on the outside looking in again for only the second time in 26 years. Simpson Miller's refusal to agree to the customary pre-election debate with Holness was widely seen as a costly error. It was also another poor showing for our pollsters, with the Gleaner quoting 2 forecasts that the PNP would win, one predicting that Simpson Miller would remain Prime Minister with a 40 to 23 seat majority. The other projected a 36-18 seat split with 9 seats up for grabs. Even 4 days before the JLP victory, the Gleaner forecasts PNP is still likely to win the next general election and will capture at least 40 of the 63 seats. Understandably, the JLP, having been in power for only 4 of the previous 26 years, might explain how easily they were written off. As the post-election fallout continued, Simpson Miller faced mounting criticism for failing to modernize the party and communicate effectively during the campaign. Many factions were now busy positioning themselves for the post-Portia era. Having beaten about the challenges of Peter Phillips, Omar Davies, and Carl Blythe for the right to replace P.J. Patterson in February of 2006, and again defeating Peter Phillips in a 2008 presidential election, Portia's grip on power had waned significantly. Disunity and distrust in the party grew even more as word emerged that 5 senior members of the party collected campaign donations and did not turn them over to the party in the lead-up to the general election. According to party insiders, in one instance, a foreign entity contributed US $20 million to the PNP, but this was collected by a high-ranking party official and not turned over to the treasury. Another senior member reportedly collected several $million from members of the local business community. In another case, millions of dollars were collected by another senior PNP member who, it is alleged, told the contributors not to give any money to the PNP treasurer Norman Horn or the party's general secretary Paul Burke. On September 17, 2016, Simpson Miller was again forced to defend her presidency of the party when she was challenging an internal presidential election by Dr. Carl Blythe. Simpson Miller emerged with 2,471 votes compared to Blythe's 198 votes. The final nail in Portia's coffin came when she presided over another electoral defeat. This time, it was the 2016 local government elections, which were held on Monday, November 28. The preliminary results said the JLP won 9 of the municipal corporations, while the People's National Party won 3. There was a tie in St. Thomas, with both parties taking 5 divisions. This was her 4th loss in 6 national elections as the leader of the party. So strong was the pressure that in December of 2016, Simpson Miller, at a National Executive Council meeting at the Cedar Grove Academy in St. Catherine, announced that she would not seek another term as PNP president the following September. Simpson Miller eventually stepped down in 2017. Paving the way for Dr. Peter Phillips to take over as party leader on March 26, 2017. Phillips was later sworn in on the 3rd of April as opposition leader. However, this transition did not resolve internal rifts. The party became split between older stalwarts and younger progressives, leading to tension over ideology, communication, and renewal. From the get-go, there were concerns in some quarters that Phillips may not have been the right choice to lead the party at the time. Some felt he was not vibrant and energetic enough to challenge his younger JLP opponent. This culminating in an open leadership challenge from Peter Bunting in 2019, signaling that confidence in Phillips' ability to lead the PNP to victory had weakened. In September of that year, 2 years into his tenure as PNP president, Phillips managed to fend off the challenge from the then Manchester Central MP with a 76-vote majority win. When the dust settled on the sometimes bitter and contentious internal election, deep divisions emerged between party supporters aligned to Phillips' One PNP team and Bunting's Rise United camp. However, with the parliamentary elections looming, the leadership of the PNP went into damage control. As part of efforts to present a united front, top supporters from Bunting's failed campaign were either returned to the shadow cabinet or given other positions of prominence. Phillips has since acknowledged that the division in the party was an almost irretrievable condition after he and the PNP suffered a crushing defeat in the September 3, 2020 general election, winning just 14 of the 63 parliamentary seats. The devastation of this defeat was even more stinging as party heavyweights Peter Bunting, Dayton Campbell, Wickham McNeil, Fenton Ferguson, Luther Buchanan, Dwayne Vaz, and Ian Ailes lost their seats. In the aftermath of this defeat, Phillips announced that he would resign as party leader. More cracks were starting to show as Mark Golding was not in support of a move to have Phillips sworn in as opposition leader, and he is on record being upset about that development. Golding, along with 14 of his parliamentary colleagues, signed a letter demanding a meeting with Phillips to discuss the future of the party. Golding later said that the letter was never about removing Phillips as leader of the opposition. He accused unnamed persons of spinning the contents of the letter to create more heat than light. However, both these moves were early indicators that Golding himself had leadership aspirations. With Phillips stepping aside, Lisa Hanna and Mark Golding emerged as the main contenders for leadership of the party. This internal election was part 2 of One PNP versus Rise United, and even though it wasn't as contentious or bruising as those prior, it did not do much to fix the rifts and disunity that had emerged in previous elections. On November 8, 2020, Mark Golding emerged the winner, securing a 296 vote majority and becoming the party's 6th president. Despite efforts to mend fences in the party, in July of 2021, the party's vice presidents, Damian Crawford, Wickham McNeil, and Michael Phillips, as well as party chairman Philip Paulwell, resigned en bloc, citing, among other things, a deepening rift in the party for stepping aside. Since then, efforts to unite the party has borne fruits. Evidence of this was seen in their spirited performances in the 2024 local government election, and the party winning 14 more seats in the 2025 general election. Though commendable performances, they just gave themselves too much work to do after the 2020 election demolition. While they are now a more viable opposition, the party once again fell to the JLP led by Andrew Holness, who has essentially managed to break the back of PNP dominance in the country. It is my view that the PNP has suffered since 2016 from one self-inflicted wound after another, and the demons of the 2016 campaign have continued to haunt them. The PNP, through its own actions and in some cases inaction, created the perfect storm for Holness, who at the time was a fledgling leader trying to impose himself on his own party to navigate through. He has since grown from those naive early years of internal leadership challenge, undated pre-signed resignation letters, the Chief Justice appointment saga, that angry Nids Town Hall meeting, to become a calculated political juggernaut. It all started with the construction of his house, a house that in time took him to Jamaica House again and again and again, a house that has helped to shape the dynamics of Gordon House since 2016. No one gave him a chance in 2016. Even him, I think, was surprised that he won that election. Since then, his popularity has grown significantly, and despite his own issues with his statutory declaration among other things, he has beaten every PNP leader he has faced at the polls. If the People's National Party were not so fixated on Andrew's house leading up to the 2016 general election, their own political house would not have tumbled down on them in such dramatic and spectacular fashion. Ego, arrogance, and complacency cost them in 2016, which led to Portia being forced out. Leadership aspirants were not happy that Phillips was basically handed the party presidency, which sowed more seeds of disunity, resulting in a bruising leadership challenge that literally split the party in two. This led to them being humiliated at the polls in 2020, resulting in Phillips' resignation, which led to another leadership challenge, which also led to more divisions in the party. During this time, Holness has consolidated his hold on his own party, but also on political dominance in the country. Through the building of his own house, the PNP opened a door for him, and though he barely made it through in 2016, he has proceeded to close the doors of power on the People's National Party. Ironically, Holness is now doing to the PNP what P.J. Patterson did to Edward Seaga, and it is the PNP's own doing. And in my view, he has his house to thank for his continued stay in Jamaica House.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!